So 2 years ago to the day, Forest was sitting bottom of the league and in walked Steve Cooper. 2 years on, we're going away to Manchester City. And there is a chance that Forest could win this one. I'll explain all in just a second. Welcome to the preview for Manchester City versus Nottingham Forest. Good morning, evening or night. Hope you guys are well and welcome to your match preview for Manchester City versus Nottingham Forest. In today's video, we're going to tell you all about the predicted team lineup, what I would go with, what Man City's team will look like, and who is going to win this battle of European champions. If you're enjoying the content, please don't forget to hit that like button. Subscribe to Forest Fan TV if you are new. And make sure you go grab those 1979 European home shirts signed by all our European champs. You've got till 7:30 tonight to get the last few tickets. All right, guys, let's get into this one. This one's going to be interesting. Let me start by saying Forest have a chance of winning this game. Statistically speaking, if this game was played 100 times, Forest would win it 5. If this game was played 100 times, Forest would get points out of it 16 times. That's according to the stats. I don't know if I believe them or not, but that's what the stats say. Forest have a 5% chance of winning this game, an 11% chance of drawing this game, and a 16% chance of overall coming out with at least a point. Do you believe those stats? Let me know in the comments down below. But do Forest realistically, can we get anything out of this? If you take your red goggles off, you will say no, Man City are just already in robot mode. And it's a little frustrating. Why? Because normally at the start of a season, Man City start to get into their groove. They're never fully in it. There's a few hiccups here and there. But so far, even though I don't think they've been playing vintage football so far, they're still WWWW, 5 dubs in a row, and they're not even in top gear. And that's the scary bit for me. However, they have been leaking some goals. They've gone behind twice in the last 2 games to lesser opposition, West Ham and in the Champions League midweek. And then they've turned around in the second half and scored 3 goals, but let's gloss over that one. So, should Forest win this one? We'll save that for the end of the video. But what will Forest do and what do I predict Steve Cooper will line us up in? Well, let's go have a look. All right, so let's jump into this. And this is what I think Cooper's predicted team is going to be, or my predicted Cooper team, if that makes more sense. I think we're going back to a 5-3-1-1, and I think you're going to see Turner still holding his place, Bowyer, Worrall and Niakate in defence with Aurier and Einar, and then a midfield 3 of Yates, Sangare and Mangala, with MGW in the hole and Awani up front. Look, I don't like the idea of going back to a back 5. I don't, even though it's Man City, and I'll show you why when I do my team. And I really don't like the idea of what's going on with Felipe and Niakate. This has to be the game that Niakate comes back in. I'm sorry, but Cooper cannot play McKenna in there again with a fit Niakate just rotting on the bench. It literally is making no sense to me right now. But if he was going to go with this formation, I would drop Worrall and bring Felipe in. Felipe's fit, man. I don't know what they're holding him back for. There's been pictures of him today on the training ground. He's ready to go. He's looking as good as ever, both with looks and fitness. I'd bring him in for Worrall. I know that'll upset a few of the happy clappers, but that's exactly what I would do. Put Bowyer, Felipe, Niakate. That's a brick wall. If you're going to go back 5, do it properly, in my opinion. In terms of Aurier coming in at right wing back, I think that probably will be what he does. He may go for the Einar Tavares combo. I think that would be too risky for me, with Tavares' defensive acumen still for me not top notch. So I wouldn't risk him at left back. So I'd rather go Einar at left back and Aurier at right back. However, with their new Daku signing, who ripped us apart at Rennes and is pacey, you may need someone who's a bit more solid right back. I just can't think who it would be. Maybe you bring a Williams in. I don't know. What do you guys think? And in midfield, I think this is what Cooper will go for. At the moment, when you play Sangare, it makes sense to play Mangala alongside him. I thought they connected very well in the first 25 minutes, 30 minutes of the game against Burnley. And I think he's going to bring Yates in just because a lot of people are crying out for it. I'm not against it. But I think Dominguez could have been interesting in this game. But I wouldn't have gone for this. But anyway, this is what I think it will be. And then Morgan Gibbs-White is undroppable for Cooper. And then Awani up there on the attack. Now, this will give you options in the second half, depending on what the scoreline would be. You can bring Callum Hudson-Odoi on, you could bring Elanga on, etc. There are some options. But I think what you're going to see, because remember, we did draw with Man City at the City Ground. And how did we succeed in doing that? By blocking out the middle of the park and forcing them wide. So Cooper will have reflected back on that. And Man City haven't changed too much in terms of the style of play they are doing. So if you can block out that middle of the park and ride your luck a little, you've got a chance of keeping them out, or at least keeping the score down and respectable. That's what I think Cooper's team will be. What do you think? Let me know. All right, so here's the team I would go for in this game. And it would be in a 4-3-3 formation. I'll go with Turner in goal, Einar left back, Niakate and Felipe in the middle, Aurier at right back. And now I'm building a brick wall, the Wall of the North, Game of Thrones style. I'm going Dominguez, Santos and Sangare in the middle. And then I'm looking for counter-attacking pace in Hudson-Odoi and Elanga on the wings, and obviously Awani up front. Now, why am I doing this? People will say it's less defensive. I'd say it's actually more defensive than the back three. Not necessarily because of anything apart from the fact that you just got to think about it logically, right? Logically. If you're playing a back three or a five, as it will be at the weekend, you're ending up inviting pressure. You got less men further forward. Therefore, the pressure ends up closer to your doorstep. Therefore, eventually the walls will cave in. If you put bricks in that midfield, defensive bricks, who can as well turn into attacks, that's where you could have your benefit. And with Elanga and Hudson-Odoi, you just leave them slightly high, maybe in and around the halfway line. Man City will always play a high line. Sometimes they play within the opponent's half. They don't even care about the offside rule anymore. And that leaves you nearly 50 yards to play in with the pace of Elanga and Hudson-Odoi. And yes, I have dropped MGW. Not because of anything for me. One, I think he needs a rest. I think he's had a very small break in the summer. And in this game, look, your creativeness isn't going to be able to, override everything else. He could come up with the best flicks and tricks under the sun, and there'll still be 2 or 3 more Man City players that he's got to get through. I think rest him and save him for Brentford. I think it would be a smart move to do. I really do. And get him ready for that game. I don't see it happening. And I do actually have a funny feeling if he plays, he will at least get an assist, if not a goal. But anyway, back to this team. And I just think if you're going to do this back four, you have to do it with your best 2 centre-backs. And until we see the likes of Murillo and Omobamidele play, then by default, the best 2 centre-backs in this club are Niakate and Felipe. Full stop. I don't see how it can be argued. You have to drop Worrall, you have to drop McKenna, and you have to drop Bolly. And I think dropping Bolly is quite harsh. I think he's been cracking this season. But you can only fit 11 on there. And then this midfield 3. Santos can play as an out-and-out 6. Sangare can play as an out-and-out 6. And Dominguez can play as a holding 8. But both Sangare, Santos, and Dominguez have the ability to push forward at times as well. And if they can win the ball high up, and this is the reason I've gone for these 3, is because they're not just about sitting deep to block shots. They're about winning the ball higher up the pitch. And if we can do that, if we can nibble Man City in and around the middle third and get a high turnover and release one of the wingers, then you would be creating chances. Now, I'm not saying even if we put those chances away, we can win the game. But this is a good experimental team for me, and a team that shouldn't get tonked either. I think there's enough defensive qualities in it that we should be okay. And there's enough pace in the counter-attack for us to get forward and potentially create a couple of chances. But either way, whatever team you put out, this could be a 6-0 again. It could. There's no two ways about it. So it doesn't really matter in essence of what you go for. And that's why I would have this little experiment. I think it's time we tested out a few new shiny toys. I want to see what Dominguez looks like in the Premier League. I want to see what Santos looks like in the Premier League. He's only had the cup game as well, and I do highly rate the kid. And of course, Sangare is Sangare. Let's see how he fares up against the best team in England right now. What do you think to this team? Let me know. All right, so let's get into the predictions. And what do I think based on what I've just shown you guys and the scary looking Man City team? Look, by the book, it's a loss, isn't it? Let's be honest. Let's be realistic about it. Some would say it's a question of, not who's going to win, but by how many. But Forest aren't taking heavy L's at the moment, especially if Cooper deploys a low block tactic. But at the same time, Man City are relentless. And if Haaland was scoring all the chances he was being created, then they'd have tonked teams very heavily already this season. I'm going to say it's going to be a loss, but there is just something niggling in the back of my mind that I do feel that Forest may sneak a cheeky little 1-1 draw out of this, catch them on the counter-attack, maybe a 0-0. There's just something. Having said that, this time last year I said Forest would go to Man City and win 5-2. Yeah, that didn't work out too well for me. So I'm going to predict a loss because you lot will be like, oh, jinxerine. So if I predicted a loss and we win, then you can all thank me. But I will put it on the record that I've just got a sneaky feeling it could be 1-1. What do you guys think? Let me know. Am I crazy? I don't know. If you've enjoyed the video, please don't forget to hit that like button. Subscribe to Forest Fan TV if you are new. We'll see you on the next video. You Reds.